Cool. We're live. Welcome to another podcast episode with me, Robin Hallsten. And today with me on the podcast is a friend from the US, Shaheen Samadi. I hope
You
I
actually said it right.
did I? Cool.
Yeah, dude. Like most people are like Shaheen,
Shaheen.
Shaheen, like Shaheen. They throw in like a K in there for some reason. Like,
Why do they do that?
dude, I mean because Americans suck. They can't read for shit, or they can't like spell or pronounce things for shit. Like, well, can I cuss on this? By the way, is that cool?
Yeah.
All right,
This
cool,
is very liberal. Talk about whatever you want. Be you.
cool, man.
Yeah, just be you. Yeah, so thank you for taking your time to be on my podcast, Shaheen.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to see the journey that you were on, and I will let you introduce yourself for my audience. Who are you and what do you do?
All right, well, what's up, guys? My name is Shaheen or Shaheen. I'm a Persian American rapper from Connecticut. For those of you who don't know where that is, that's like about 3 hours away from New York City. And basically, I make music to sort of elevate and inspire people to become the best versions of themselves. And at the same time, I want to bring Persian culture into like the mainstream culture and just educate people about Iranian culture basically and make it seem and just make it look really cool, right? So I think like a lot of Persians and Iranians don't have enough representation in our media and they're very poorly represented. So something that I've always wanted to do is just, show a more positive light towards my people.
Hmm. Yeah, because I guess also like as an Iranian in the US as well, like being Iraqi or from the Middle East, like having a Middle Eastern background is, I guess,
Mhm.
must be quite hard after what happened like in the beginning of the 2000s, right? And
Yeah,
also
man. I
like
mean,
with the old wars in Iraq as well.
yeah, man. I mean, growing up, especially in the post 9/11 era, was like it was just really weird. And a lot of it was just due to like a misunderstanding about like what's going on, a lot of miseducation, propaganda on movies, TV, news, especially news networks like Fox News. I don't know if Swedish people know what Fox News is. It's basically like a right wing propaganda channel that's very popular in the U.S. And basically like it always seemed like no matter where you were in the Middle East, right? It doesn't matter if you're Iranian, Iraqi, Afghani, Saudi Arabian. Like if you had a shade of brown in you, like you're one of them. You're a terrorist. You're whatever. And I remember like when I was in third grade, it was like the summer after third grade. I was in a summer camp, and some kid came up to me and he was like, "Are you Afghani?" I'm like, "Nah," and he's like, okay, well, if you were, I would have beat the shit out of you, right? Like I was third grade, dude. This kid was maybe 1 year older than me, and that was like the first time I really learned what racism was.
Hmm.
Like that was like the first time I'm like, wow, like people would beat up someone just because their parents were from another country that you didn't even have anything to do with 9/11 anyway. Like and you think like, okay, well, he's just a kid, right? Like obviously kids say dumb things, but I mean, like, where does he get these ideas from? Like they
Hmm.
obviously, what I'm saying, like I wouldn't be surprised if his parents endorsed ideas like that. Like his parents probably like turn on Fox News or listen to these right wing radio hosts, and then they have negative views towards Middle Eastern people, and then they kind of just spread that down to their children. And I grew up with a lot of that. Like growing up, people used to call me a sand N word.
Hmm.
Um, people I always felt like I had to explain myself to people, which kind of gets old after a while, like I always have to be like, oh no, like, obviously I'm not a terrorist. Obviously my family's not a terrorist. Like, oh, like Iran's never even like did anything terror like to the United States anyway. Like it's stupid for anyone to think that, what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
so where are you guys getting this from? So growing up, even to this very day, I get a lot of that. So it is what it is, right?
Hmm. And how much has this, because I sense there's like a deeper frustration and anger towards this kind of behavior, and how has that fueled your hip hop?
Yeah, man. So I mean, it's actually um a lot of this was inspired when did this is okay. So around 2015, that was like Black Lives Matter, like that group. Do you know about them in Sweden?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was a big thing around 2015, right? Everyone, everyone was talking about it. There was, and I was in college, right? So there was these ongoing discussions on campus. There were many protests and stuff like that, which I was a part of, and that movement really inspired me, right? And then at the same time, um, Kendrick Lamar came out with an album called "To Pimp a Butterfly." When I heard that album, it completely changed the direction where I want to take my own music, because "To Pimp a Butterfly" was a very Black Pride album,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it was around that time when I started to really take pride in my own culture and history. Persian culture, Persian history. I thought it was really cool what Kendrick was doing for Black people. And I thought it was really amazing how he represented them. And I wanted to do something similar with my own culture and my own people. So "To Pimp a Butterfly" really inspired me to just go above and beyond in that. So I remember a few months later, I actually just posted this on Instagram today, but a few months later, I did a show. I was involved with in a cipher, and there was a line that I dropped, and it said something. It was like, "I'm the Persian reincarnation of Malcolm X, screaming freedom for my people till murdered and out of breath." And I remember like the audience reaction to that. They were like, "Whoa!" Like, and that to me, all of a sudden, like, I felt like I was like, okay, I think I found something interesting here. You know what I'm saying? Like, and a few months after that, I graduated college, and my dad, as a graduation gift, took me to Iran, and he showed me, like, I went to all the ancient shit, right? Like, he took me to Persepolis. It was like the ancient ruins of Persepolis. This was like an out of body experience for me, because, like, now I'm connecting with like my ancient roots. Like, and like, you see all the culture, you see all the kind hearts, so many nice ass people in the country. And I remember like random people just coming up to me, giving me hugs. Like, "Yo, what's up?" They're saying in Farsi, right, or in Persian. They're like, giving me hugs, like, "Yo, what's up, brother? How you doing?" And I'm like, "Yo, like, this is such a friendly community here." And at the same time, no one knows about this. Like, if you go outside of this country, like, no one knows how kind we really are. And they just want to show, like, the media has this agenda to show images of crazy people burning U.S. flags, shouting "death to America," and then they come up with lies. Like, the media coming out with lies saying, "Oh, Iranians hate Americans because Americans have freedom." I'm like, that's, first of all, that's bullshit. Like, do you see Iranians burning like flags of Sweden? No, you know what I'm saying? Like, Sweden is a very free country.
Mm.
Um, you guys have it pretty good, and like, no one's shouting like "death to Sweden,"
Mm-hmm.
"death to Netherlands," "death to most European countries." Like, it's just like, it always just comes down to like the U.S., England, and Israel, because they're like the powers that are basically dominating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's that. And then, like, well, anyway, like, I went to Iran, and after that, I felt like it was like a mission, almost like a purpose, to like make Iranian, show the positive sides to Iranian culture, and then bring it to the mainstream. So it's like, like in Halloween, right? You'll see like you'll see, again, I don't know what goes on in Sweden, but like white girls here will like dress up like Cleopatra, right? Or like they'll dress up like they'll try to appropriate like cool things from the cultures and stuff, but like no one knows anything about my own culture, and that always bothered me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we had such interesting history. We have, what I'm saying, like, we have like such cool history when it comes to our religions and what we used to practice and how we used to live, that I feel like, this could become like a mainstream pop kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? This is fascinating, but it hasn't. And instead, like, if you think of like not you, but like in America, like if someone hears the word like Iranian, whatever, they think of a bunch of like people wearing turbans and saying outrageous things. And like, and that's always been a mission of mine to like to fight,
Yeah,
to fight that image.
to fight the bigotry.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, we had a Swedish scientist or author. He passed away a couple of years ago, but his name was Hans Rosling, and he said like some of what we see in media is like kind of what is portrayed is that you show the pinky toe of the foot, and then you say that the whole culture of the whole country is like this. Like what
Yeah.
that's probably what you're addressing here is, and for I don't know that much about Iran myself. I just know that a friend who was cycling around, or like not a maybe a friend, but like someone that I've met, an acquaintance of mine. She biked all around the world, and when she came to Iran, she had a hard time leaving because it was wherever she
Mhm.
went there in the streets, people just like took her in and gave her food, and she stayed like there for a month, and she had no trouble at all with like hostility, or everybody was
No.
just very friendly. But how is it? Because I don't know that much about Iran. Is it a dictatorship right now, as it is, or is it?
Yeah, it's well, I mean, it's always had like a monarchy system, even before the system it has now.
Hmm.
Like before the current theocratic religious system it has right now, it was like for 2,500 years it was a monarch, right?
Hmm.
So it was never really a democracy where people go out and like vote for the next ruler, and like, what I'm saying, like, I mean, they did like during the last, I would say, 100 years before the revolution, like there were attempts to, like, we did have prime ministers and stuff like that people would vote for, but they, at the end of the day, the prime ministers never really had more or any even equal power than the king did. The king
Hmm.
had all the power. So that was always a thing, and there's always been a struggle, but it's gotten like worse ever since the revolution. And I mean, I try not to get too. I try not to talk too much about the revolution, but in the current regime. But yeah, I mean, what it is right now is basically a religious theocracy. So the people in power have a unique interpretation of the Quran, and they enforce that as part of their constitution.
Hmm.
And so Sharia law is enforced. Women are required to cover their hair. If they don't, there are harsh penalties. Um, shit like that. It's very anti. I mean, it's not. It's I'm not. It's you can. It's safe to say they're not pro-feminist,
Yeah.
right? And I think they would agree, right? It's not like they'd be listening and say, "Oh, how dare he say that?" Like, I mean, they're not. Uh, um, I mean, it's a right wing theocracy what they have going on there.
Hmm.
But what's funny is that the culture and the people there, they are very disconnected to their government. And it's like, like even in America, like people are divided, right? Like, you have the Democrats, you have Republicans, we all, and like you either love or hate Trump, but at the end of the day, you still have there's still somewhat of a, most people support the way the American government is formed and run. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, they like the voting system. Most people agree with the two-party system. They agree with the Constitution. The American government is somewhat a part of American culture, regardless of what your political views are.
Hmm.
In Iran, it's not like that at all. Where it's like they are completely disconnected. They might go vote just to just to put in the lesser of the two evils in, right? But they don't really connect with their government. And then it's completely like, most Iranians don't go out there with turbans saying death to America. um Women should be fucking wearing a hijab everywhere they go. And most Iranians don't think that at all. Most Iranians are actually very open people who like to celebrate things. They like to party. You know what I'm saying? They have like, they like to drink. They like to do fun shit. They like to dance. And it's just like we have a government there that's very counterculture. It almost seems like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard about like the theory of that is that a lot of Iranians are that because they are repressed in a governmental way. So so what the people is doing is they get together and they try to be in community with oneself when when they can't be held by a government, like maybe like we have here in Sweden. Is more maybe uh, maybe a more safe environment if you look at a government level. But also, like I would say, in Sweden we have a lot of problem with like people being feeling lonely, and that people have
Mhm.
it really good materially and socially, but almost too good. So it's becomes like they don't have anyone because they're so dependent on the government that they don't need help from anybody else. So that it kind of like destroys like maybe how families take care of each other in Iranian culture. Maybe that's we don't have that the same, I would say, in Sweden maybe,
Mm.
which could be an interesting thing. But let's leave a little bit Iran for a moment, Shaheen, and I want to talk about you were in Canada the other
Yeah,
week,
this past
or you
week.
just came back, and would be cool to hear what happened there. And because you've been doing music now for almost 10 years, I think you
Yeah.
said to me, and now you feel like it's stuff is moving a bit. Can you tell me more about that experience?
Yeah, man. So I mean, I went to Canada because my cousin lives there, right? And my cousin and my mom wanted to go see my cousin and my aunt, right? And she decided, hey, Shane, you want to come? I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I want to go to Canada. So why not, right? So I go, and I posted this thing on Instagram because I have a small fan base in Toronto. So I posted this thing on my Instagram. I'm like, yo, would be down for some, hit me up for meet and greets, right? And people did actually hit me up, and I did not expect them to. And yeah, but I mean, they were really nice. They took me out to this comedy show. They even bought me like a gift. They when they greeted me, they immediately gave me a gift. I'm like, yo, holy shit, you didn't need to do that. They had me sign their autographs. Like I'm like, yo, really? Like, what, my autograph? Like, it was just unreal to me. You know what I'm saying? And then, I also had a chance to do a podcast with a Iranian comedian who lives there, and her name is Sahar Gulshani. She's really big on Instagram, and a lot of people in the Persian community know who she is. So doing that with, she invited me to her home, and we did this podcast together. It was an awesome time, and we smoked a little weed, and like it was just like a really cool experience, right? And after that, if it was a huge self-esteem boost, you know what I mean? And it got me thinking, okay, I'm on the right path. I'm a lot more confident, and I think things are slowly starting to move. I mean, I'm seeing more engagement on my own Instagram. That girl shared one of my verses recently, and I got like a few hundred new followers that way. I'm building relationships with people, with my own fans. I love to do that, honestly, because like at the end of the day, I want to build a community.
Hmm.
And um, and then, like, so I like to kind of like, if people follow me and listen to my music, oftentimes I will follow them back because I want to have a relationship with that person, you know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, man, like Canada was crazy, and like I think definitely, like, we both went to Grounding Man, right? And like there was that time at the end where Elliott made us sing like everything's unfolding perfectly for me, right?
Hmm.
And I think like the universe or God or whatever we believe in kind of just had me go to Toronto for that reason. You know what I mean? Like just for that like huge self-esteem boost. Um, and like I said, man, I think this momentum is really like I just got to keep going at this point.
Hmm. Yeah, it's all those little steps you've been taking on your journey that might, you don't know
Mhm.
how big it will become, like, or how it will unfold, or when it will unfold. But as long as you're on your path, I guess it's interesting to see,
Mhm.
and how every step that we've been taking just has been
Every
preparing
small
us.
thing, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. You talked about Grounding Man. That's actually where we met in Warrensburg, up in New York, upstate New
Yep.
York,
Yeah.
last summer, I guess it was.
Yep. June 2018. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What did that event mean for you? And it's so interesting as well. Like, I've done some podcasts now. I've done two actually with JP Duncan,
Yeah.
who was also there, and
He's a good guy.
see a lot of my life has indirectly, Elliot has really impacted my life, and
Yeah.
led me get to know people like you and others,
Mhm.
and affected me in a positive way. Can you tell a little bit of how, what that experience meant for you, and maybe also what Elliot has meant for you?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, like I said before the podcast, I met Elliot. I mean, I didn't meet Elliot. I'm sorry. I was introduced to Elliott Hulse's videos by my friend Keith back in 2013. I was trying to just figure out how to be a more confident person who, if I'm going to be honest with you, I needed some help with the ladies. You feel me? At that time, because like, when I was like young, like when I'm talking about like 18, 19 years old, like I kind of had trouble. I was a quote unquote nice guy, right? So you have like girls will like they'd be friends with you and share their secrets with you, and then they're like, oh, I kind of just like you as a friend kind of shit, right? And I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm just sitting there like, why does this always happen to me, right? And then like the biggest lie about that is like, girls will tell you like, oh, you'll find the right one someday, whatever. But then I realized, if this happened more than once or more than a few times, like it's got to be me, right? There's got to be something I'm doing wrong, whatever. So I got introduced to Elliott Hulse. I watched a couple of his videos. My game changed radically, and I didn't have that problem anymore, right? It was crazy. Like knock on wood, I never got in the friend zone again. And yeah, that was like 6 years ago, right? So anyway, what happened was before Grounding Man, I was involved with a girl, and she was very emotionally unstable. And she would come into my life and leave, come into my life, leave, come into my life, leave. And it started to have like a negative impact. And I obviously had a lot of feelings for this woman. And one day I walk in, I run into her at a party, and she's giving me like a weird cold shoulder. She's being kind of a bitch. and and then I'll never forget, and I was like, it was killing me because I was kind of in love with this girl, you know what I mean? And like, I came up to her, I gently like held her hand, and then like I'll never forget this. Where like some big buff guy this guy was like obnoxious as hell, you know what I'm saying? This was like the guy at the party who was like really loud as fuck and kind of like annoying, um, just like the fake alpha male, right?
Hmm.
And I'll never forget this where he just like pulled her away from me, and like she was kind of giggling like, and I was just like dumbstruck. I was like, what the fuck? I was so broken, you know what I'm saying? Like that
Hmm.
shit was like traumatizing for me, and I just left the party. I went home, and like I couldn't even like sleep. My ears were like ringing, and like there was like a physical reaction my body was having, like processing all of that, and I felt like emasculated in a way, you know what I mean? Like, wait, and like I was like, what just happened? I felt like I've lost all my masculinity, and I was like in a really cold and dark place. And of course, it was like December 30th. I remember this happened, so it was freezing. It was physically cold outside, and it was bad, man. I fell into some bad, deep depression shortly after that, and I started to kind of build myself up again, right? And that's when I started doing these weekly episodes that you see me doing now, right? I'm on episode I just dropped 64, right? But since February of 2018, that's when I started with episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and I've had some breaks. But anyway, and then around, I would say April, I saw an ad for Grounding Man, It was right on my Facebook feed, and it was about, and Grounding Man was about masculinity.
Mm.
And to me, it just felt like it was a calling. I'm like, I have to go to this. This is literally, first of all, I mean, I'd say, Elliott was a role model, and this was something I've always wanted to hear him talk about, which was masculinity and how to kind of integrate that. So I saw the price. I was like, it's a little steep. I went anyway.
Yeah.
And I took my friend Keith with me. Have you met Keith?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I took Keith. Keith came with me, and yeah, man, it was a very positive experience. It kind of, just hanging out with Elliot and all of you guys, it was just like a reassurance. One, it reminded me of, like, yes, I am a masculine man. Yes, there is a lot of masculinity in me. Yes, I'm very talented. Yes, everything happens for a reason. And, that thing that happened with that girl back then, that happened for a reason too. And, and then, like, obviously with the meditations and all that, it really did help with my self-awareness and understanding myself a lot more. And it was definitely a very unforgettable experience, man. Like, if I had the money, which I will have the money again, trying to have an abundant mindset, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it is something I would like to do again in my lifetime. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's also been getting to know his videos. I would say, like, how I found it was also like my the birthing of my own self-development journey in a way, and feeling a bit lost and didn't unsure of myself, and finding this kind of like a father figure in a way, that kind of
yeah,
addressed a lot of stuff that my own father didn't talk to me about, or stuff like that. So it's really interesting to see the impact that he's been having, and with the dynamic meditation and stuff like that, how to become a more grounded masculine. And
yeah, absolutely.
I feel like yeah, there's so much love for Elliot and what he has done and
Mhm.
what he's keep on doing.
He's definitely, like, and like at the time, like, he was a huge role model when it comes to helping me understand my path
Mm-hmm.
and why it's important for me to continue.
Yeah.
And he was very important. Like, he knows how to build people up. You
Mm.
know what I mean? And he understands rock bottom. He understands depression. He understands feeling not worthy and shit like that. And, like, we both know his story. So I think he's a good role model to have for boys and men.
Mm.
But again, and we talked about this before, I don't like his political views. Um, and I'm not really too big on some of the things he's saying now, but I wouldn't, if anyone's listening, like, I wouldn't let I wouldn't let that deter you from understanding him more and watching his older videos, and even,
Yeah.
like, going to a Grounding Man. You know what I mean? Like, you could, this might be controversial, but you could be friends with people who disagree with you, right? Um,
Yeah.
you know
That's
what I'm saying?
healthy.
Yeah, like, one of my best friends is a libertarian, and he's more right. He kind of leans more to the right than anything. And I mean, like, what I'm saying, like, I'm not gonna cut him off just because
Mm-hmm.
of that. You know what I mean? And we have healthy discussions all the time. They're respectful. They're civil. And I'm more on the left, right? I'm kind of more of a liberal, democratic socialist kind of guy. Um, but, I have healthy discussions with people who disagree with me all the time, and I think that's fine. As long as you don't go into, like, that racist territory where you're like, oh, I don't like a certain race, I don't like black
Yeah.
people. When people say that, that's when I want to, like, cut them out, like.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had done that before, where people, I used to call, were people who were like brothers to me. These people were like saying, oh, we should bomb Iran and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, dude, like, you came to my house and we fed you and we let you stay when you had nowhere else to go. And now you want to kind of bomb my country. Like, what I'm saying? Those are the kind of people you want to cut out of your life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that doesn't sound healthy.
Yeah.
But also talking about Shaheen, about talking about the experience you had with that girl at that party, and that recurring pattern you had there, and depression and anxiety, because that's also been for the episodes that I've been watching, has been a recurring theme as well, like dealing, like maybe using music as therapy maybe would fit. But it's also like a common theme that I've been having in my life as well. And for someone struggling with those kind of emotions, what would you say has helped you, and what would you recommend that person to do?
I mean, depression is one of those interesting things because it's different for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the solution is like the why and how is completely different. Like for example, like if because some people get offended when I used to say like, yo, if you're depressed, like meditation helps, and they'll just look at me and be like, excuse me, like no, like that does not work for me. I'm like, and I can't say, you know what I'm saying? Like, so for some people, it's different for everyone. Like some people are on medication, and I cannot tell you to, hey, like stop taking meds. I'm not a psychiatrist. You know what I mean? For me personally, um, and this is just my advice. If this doesn't work for you, that's fine. But have a purpose, like have a goal, and just work passionately towards that. Right. So with me, it's music. It's that goal. It's what keeps me going every day. It keeps me motivated. It's that vision I have. I visualize the kind of person I want to be. Like what would a happy, confident, strong version of me look like? And I try to embody that and integrate that into me every day. That's something that's kind of worked for me. Also trying new things, just hanging out with people that are kind of like you, find a community to hang out with. Um, and a lot of this applies to men. But I mean, I think if you're a woman, like you can benefit from this too, like martial arts. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying? Like becoming like a very self-reliant individual, in my opinion, does a lot for your self-esteem. And I think a lot of our depression has to do with our low self-esteem, the low self-worth we have. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to go about it. Invest. You know what I'm saying? Invest in coaching. There's no or go to therapy. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. Um, I if you are, like sometimes I get into conversations with people who have had suicidal tendencies, and it's really sad because they tell me like, nah, they don't want to go seek help, and but then they come to me for help, and of course I would love to help you, and I would love to make sure that not only do you not take your life, but you also have like a very happy and fulfilling life. But at the end of the day, it's like we're not medical professionals.
Mm.
We're not, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes I get a little bit nervous because like what if I accidentally say something that might make the situation worse? So I mean like sometimes like if you ever have suicidal thoughts, it's a disclaimer, like please seek professional help. There is no shame in that. And there are people out there who want to help you. And also just realize that there's so much in life that's worth seeing. There's so many beautiful things with life. There's so many beautiful things about life that's it's worth living. You know what I mean? Regardless of how much pain we've all gone through,
Mm.
no reason to cut it short.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a lot to what you're are touching upon, and for me also what I want to agree with is that the fact of investing, like what we did, investing in some kind of grounding,
Yeah.
man, like some kind of course or whatever,
Hmm.
meditation, and ways to scout your inner terrain and get to know, like, self-awareness is I would say the biggest. Because, like, of course you can take pills, and pills might help you in the short uh short
It numbs you.
It numbs you, yeah. And it might help you for a short while, and then you might need to up your dose or whatever. And I would say that what works probably better is to get to know yourself and not
I agree. That's my personal approach to it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I try to meditate every day.
mm,
Sometimes I don't do this as often as I would like to, but sometimes I do journaling.
mm-hmm,
And it's crazy how much, like, and this is my experience with it, but it's crazy how much you can manifest when you journal. It's
mm,
fucking crazy, man. Like, so I mean, if you guys struggle with that, like with depression and stuff, another method, I mean, simply just journaling. Get like a
yeah,
small little notebook, and every morning maybe write 2 to 3 pages nonstop, just no filter, just write out what's on your mind, even if
mm-hmm,
it's like, and even if you, and don't even, and try not to overthink it. And which I know is very hard to do, especially if you're like me and you have anxiety because we overthink everything, right? But like, sometimes, like if you had, sometimes like you'll get to these points where like, I don't know what to say. Then just write it out. I don't know what to say. I literally do that. And that's fine. Eventually you will have shit to say.
yeah,
And like, and then like each time you do this activity, like you will have a little bit more like understanding of yourself. And then you can take action. That's the coolest part. Like the more you know about yourself, like the more you know, the more action you can take.
mm,
Like the more options you have on the table.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also, what was I thinking? I was thinking about how important it is to, yeah, to take that action for sure, and also to with meditation come back to presence and to see, anxiety or being depressed comes from is all basically rooted in like thinking too much forward or reminiscing of the past or something that you regret or whatever. And if we can stay in presence and we can stay in the here and now, then there is no problems in the now. It's just this kind of anticipation that we are afraid of something that will happen in the future. That
I mean, if you're in the now, the past and present doesn't even exist.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
It's like some Eckhart Tolle shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
but it's true. But I mean, if you think about it, like the concept of time isn't really real anyway.
Hmm.
So when you start to like fear the future, like you're literally scared about nothing. You're
Hmm.
scared about something that doesn't exist until you create that.
Hmm.
Which is like why they say what you fear you create oftentimes, because
Hmm.
like that future is not real. It's not, you haven't, the only thing that's real is now. The
Hmm.
past isn't really real too. It's not. Well, what's kind of real is like the memories we have, right?
Hmm.
But the physical past isn't real.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's, and so something that kind of helps is like, okay, like what are you freaking out about?
Hmm.
What you know what I'm saying? Like the only thing, I mean, like if it's not happening within the next 5 seconds, like I would say, like, I mean, and I know it's easier said than done. Look, I have anxiety too. I'm not just gonna come out and say it's so easy, guys. All you got to do is read Eckhart Tolle, and it's not. I wish it was that simple. I wish it was as simple as reading books. But look, I mean, like I would just say, like, just it's a slow process. But you should always you should always do what you can to just make sure you're in the present. Meditation helps with this, 10, 20 minutes a day, you know. Yeah.
Self-awareness. Yeah, for sure. It's usually the thing that we are fearing is more, it's not the thing we're fearing, it's the anticipation of the thing that's gonna
Yeah.
happen. And for you talked about a lot about purpose and having like a goal or whatever. And for me, it's also been in my life, it's been this kind of being flexible to see that your goals and vision will change along the journey. And
Hmm.
sometimes even when you reach that goal, you realize, oh, that wasn't that hard, or that wasn't exactly what I wanted.
I
And
think J. Cole talks about this. Do you listen to J. Cole?
no, I don't. Yeah.
Okay, so I think like in one, and it may have been someone else, but I'm pretty sure it was J. Cole. And he said in one of his interviews, it's like, all right, like first you get like, like you have this goal, you want to be rich, right?
Mm,
Eventually you become rich, and like you feel good, yeah, like I can buy this now, whatever. But then what? Now you want something more,
mm-hmm,
and it's sort of like you drive, you buy a new Mercedes Benz, then you want a Ferrari, then
yeah.
you get a Ferrari, then you want. I mean, I don't really know much about cars to know what's more expensive or whatever than a Ferrari, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're always gonna want something more. And I think
Mm,
like that's one of the things that Elliott talked about, where he's like, that's why like with the king energy, excuse me, you have to really appreciate where you are in this journey.
mm,
And I don't think the journey will ever really end. You know what I mean? Like, let's say like tomorrow I become like that famous rapper. The journey's not over.
mm-hmm,
You know what I mean? Like now it's like, okay, now it's like the life of a famous rapper. Okay, now then in the future it's like, let's say I want to do something else, which is like what a lot of rappers do that. They like for example, like Ice Cube does movies now, right? So it's like now you might have another vision. Now you might have another goal. And
mm-hmm.
that's fine. I don't really think there's anything wrong with that, you know?
Yeah, and it doesn't mean either that that maybe you enjoy like your life now as more kind of like up and coming, and maybe maybe in the future, if you were to become big, you see like people
But
really crumble around like under their fame, like it becomes too much and too overbearing to be in that point of authority, which a lot of people really want to be in, but they don't see that
mhm.
it also comes with a lot of repercussions and responsibilities that the majority of people would not even be able to handle.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people are really better off with their. No, actually, no. I take that back. Yeah, man. Look, I with me, it's always been about with being successful with music. To me, it's always been about freedom,
Hmm.
right? Um, it's like I can travel and I can go around the world performing and meeting new people, getting introduced to different cultures, um, just connecting with people. You know what I'm saying? And just constantly being free to do that. Being never having to really worry about money, because a lot of us aren't free because our lives are dictated by our fear of not having money. That's, you know what I mean? Like, that's why most people are work a 9 to 5 job that they hate,
Hmm.
but it gives them a somewhat stable level of comfort. Like, all right, well, you know what I'm saying? And like but they won't dare quit their jobs
Yeah,
because
comfortably numb.
yeah, exactly. Like, they're depressed. Of course they're depressed, but they don't have to worry about like money. Well, they
Hmm.
do. They do, because they only they give them just enough to like, basically, you know what I mean? But to me, like, it's just like I don't even want to really have to worry about that. Like, I just want to like focus on just like being free, traveling, exploring, and then like music has always been like my way of doing that, and just connecting with people and just you know having like a beautiful life, and shit
Hmm.
like that. Not, I mean, the fame and shit like that is cool and all, but to me it's just more about freedom and independence from this economic system we're in.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the things that I've been pondering about lately is that also I see that I don't want that much shit. I just want to feel that I contribute to something greater, and also for me, I realized it's not about making a lot of money. It's more about just checking that the balance of don't have that expensive expenses, that
Mhm.
to go around. And I see that less is more in that kind of way. And and the more we have and the more we crave that, the more that will cost and the more we have to work for that.
Exactly. Like some people say like, oh, I'd rather like cry in a BMW. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like I'd rather
Yeah.
like be a cry in a BMW than like cry in a box. But like, why is that even an option? You know what I mean? Like, or you can just be like happy. Like, why? First of all, why is crying an option? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, you could just say like, I live, or you know, I think it was, you know, you follow Gary Vee at all?
Yeah, I see a little bit of his stuff, but not that much. But yeah.
Yeah. He says some shit like, I'd rather be happy with a Toyota than crying in a BMW or Mercedes, right? But it's true, right? Because I think like when you like take out a loan to buy like a fresh new car, that car owns you.
That's a trap.
Now you're in debt. Now you have to like now a portion of your upcoming paychecks for the next few years is going towards that car. So you know what I mean? So you're not really free. But like one of the things what I want to do is like I want to be rich, like spiritually, personally, and financially. But at the same time, I don't want to live in a mansion. There's no reason to do that. You know what I'm saying? If I want to raise a family of 4, I can buy a decent house for not that much for a rich guy. You know what I mean? And like I feel like I'll still have a fuck ton of money, and I don't have to like worry about mortgage payments. I don't want to have to worry about what all this bullshit. But even if like no matter, see, like a lot of people like live their life like they upscale shit, right? So like even like rich people take out mortgages, but just in a larger scale. So like they might buy like a $1 or $2 million house, but their monthly payment, they're still making monthly payments for 30-40 years paying that mortgage off, right? Well, it's like the same thing. Middle class do the same thing, except they might buy like maybe a $200,000 or $300,000 house. But then they're going to make payments for the next 20, 30, 40 years on that house. So it's not like even being rich, like that doesn't mean you're free if you do retarded shit like buying things you don't need, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And talking about that, like you were yourself in debt after college and worked your way through that as well. And and also let's hear your thoughts about the American educational system. And might be a long one. This answer.
Where to begin? Okay, so I basically I went to college, got my degree in political science. I went to the University of Conneticut. I got out with $50,000 in debt. It took me about 2 years with my 9-to-5 job to pay it all off, which is very quick compared to what most people do. I didn't have to pay it off that quick. I just wanted to because I didn't want to be a debt slave. Look, like from since I was 17, 18, like I've always wanted to be like a famous rapper, right? Like that's always been my thing, even while I was in college. And even when I was in college, I was always like more focused on like music anyway. But at the same time, I couldn't really grow as fast because at the same time, I really wanted to be a good student, right? So my mom, because I'm Iranian, my parents were like, you have to, you're either going to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, right? And I had an interest in politics, right?
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, I can be a lawyer. I went to like a law school seminar and I thought it was whack. So like I was like, yo, this is like really boring. I do not give a fuck about this. The pay is not that good anyway. And I know if I abandon music and take this path, I will be miserable and full of regrets. So I by then it was a little bit too late for me to quit school. So I finished my degree, got my degree in political science, $50,000 in debt. But now at this point I was angry because I was like, yo, I'm 50 grand in debt for something I don't value at all. So I got my 9-to-5 job and I just worked my way through it. Every month I would pay between $2,000 to $3,000 and just get it out of the way. And yeah, man, now I'm debt free. I don't have a 9 to 5 job right now. I'm kind of what you call a quote unquote starving artist, just kind of making moves. I am very fortunate enough to say I live with my parents. I don't have any expenses right now. I do have a little bit of money coming in. I like to I film some stuff for some friends, and they pay me a little bit of money to do that. Um, but yeah, man. As for the American education system, I think it's crap. I think it's and I don't even know if it's just in America, but I think what the problem is with the education system is that we're just told to do it. You
Mm-hmm.
just go, just like breathing. It's just something you do. You go to college, and it's getting more expensive, more expensive, more expensive, and it's also becoming less valuable. If you take about, you know what I mean, dude? It's becoming a lot less valuable than it was. People are going into tens of $1,000s of debt, and they're not even getting jobs that can pay that off. Never mind live off of. Like I know this one girl who got a degree with me, and now she has a job paying like $12.50 an hour. And then like with the kind of payments that she's making back to the government, like she's gonna be paying that shit till 65. Like
Wow.
imagine being a debt slave for college till 65. I'm like, fuck that with every ounce of my fucking dick. Like I'm like I hate you know, like like I'm a very like anti-establishment kind of dude. So like, that just didn't fly with me.
Yeah,
But
understandably.
and the thing is like people don't need to go to college. You know what I mean? I mean like like if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, by all means like go to fucking school.
Mm.
If you want to be a teacher, go to school. If you want to be like a financial analyst, or if you have certain career aspirations that require a bachelor's degree or more, then yes, like by all means, like I'm all for going to school. And I think, and I do think that should be tuition free. That's my opinion of it. But at the end of the day, a lot of people aren't cut for that. Some people could go to trade school if that's what they're into. You know what I mean? Like they could do more blue collar shit and working class shit. That's fine. There's no shame in that. They make a decent amount of money with a lot less debt anyway.
Mhm.
Um, if you're in a um, if you're an aspiring musician, I don't really see the reason to go to school, right? Now, but I will tell you this, dude. As much as I didn't really like going to school and all that shit, I am grateful I went because one, I acknowledge that everything happens for a reason, right? Everything is unfolding perfectly for us. And in school, I did happen to learn a lot about hip hop culture and the history of it. And I also learned a lot about the civil rights movement that
Mm.
helped me grow as an artist. And I feel like I definitely needed to know that stuff before becoming a hip hop artist, right? Because at the end of the day, hip hop culture is Black culture. And the fact that I'm more educated about that helps me a lot as an artist. And obviously, I did have some cool social interactions that are always going to stay with me. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, I realized like even though I might not get what society wanted me to get out of it, I got some cool vibes. I got some cool things from it that I think is going to help me in the long run. Like social experiences I can learn from, um, opportunities to perform, shit like that. So
Yeah.
there's pros and cons.
Yeah, I've think that there's so much differences between the American and Swedish way of looking at the educational system. But I for myself has not even put my foot in a university after high school. I haven't done
Is it
any.
free for you?
It's I think you get subsidies for like $600 kind of for
Well,
free every
okay.
month, but then you can take like an extra loan out of that, like so you can loan up to, I guess, additional like $500-600 a month, I guess, and then you pay off that whenever you can, and it's no interest rate on that loan.
Wow. So you mean like, so like, what's like the tuition for like 1 year?
Well, you don't pay to go to school. Like you don't pay to go to university. The thing you take
What?
loan for is that you maybe take loan to buy books and to for your rent as a student. So you don't actually
That's
pay to
it?
go. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
That
God,
I
dude.
think so. I think so. You know, I haven't gone myself.
And you said there's subsidies, right? So basically they pay you. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You
they
get.
give you
I think it's like 600 equivalent like $600, and then you can loan for rent and to have food, like because that's not gonna get subsidized by the government. But yeah, it's a
that's
whole different
still
ballgame.
way better than what we have. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
God.
for sure. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So you have people that can get by on just the subsidies if they really live like really cheap. But I think that's really rare. But yeah, it's such a different ball game.
But even if you take the subsidies and the loans, I mean, that's still, oh man, like still, wow.
Yeah.
That's nothing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I got out of school with $50,000 in debt.
Hmm.
I don't think that could happen in Sweden.
No, that then you probably not. Then you have to do a lot of years in university or college. Yeah,
Yeah, a
yeah,
lot of years.
yeah, a lot of years. Yeah, man. It's a different thing. But Shaheen, I'm interested in looking forward in your life and in your aspiring career. Where do you see yourself in a couple years? And let's say where do you what's your vision for the next 5 years, or where are you in 5 years?
Thanks, man. Yeah. I was actually hanging out with my friend last night, and I was telling him I think in 1 year things are going to look completely different for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm talking like October 2020. I think my life is not going to be the way it is today. I think I'll have a much bigger following. I think I will definitely start bringing, yeah, because by then I'll almost be 27. And I think by then I'll definitely be starting to make a good income from the music. And I'm saying this to you because I need to manifest it, right? So I can't be like, yeah, I think maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get like 3,000 Instagram followers. And, I can't, I have to think big. So I do not, but I do genuinely believe October 2020, I'll be in a much different place, much bigger following. The income will be a lot bigger. I think the music that I'll be making will um, have a bigger impact
Mm-hmm.
on people. And yeah, man, I'm not, that's not in 5 years. I think that's like in 1 or 2 years. You know what I mean? Um, 5 years, I will be 30, maybe 31. Um, I think my life will be a lot different then. So and I'm kind of terrified to think that far ahead, honestly. You know what I mean? How old are you?
I'm 27.
27. Okay, so by then I'll
Mm-hmm.
be 30, maybe 30, almost 31, and um, I think by then consciously I'll be in a much different place. I think I'll definitely be closer to my king archetype that
Mm-hmm.
Elliott talked about. I think um, I'll be a lot more grounded, much more confident, a lot more self-love. Um, I think oh my dude, like I, I can't really imagine 5 years if I'm being completely honest with you, man. 1 or 2 years, yeah, man, maybe 3 years. Um, I think I will be going on tour before my 30s. I think I will be making a good amount of money before my 30s, and yeah, man,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll hit that freedom point before 30.
Mm. It's gonna be interesting to have. We have this on tape now.
I know, fuck.
But when do you have a full length album out yet, or is that on in the making?
So I am not making an album right now. I drop one song every month. And the reason why I do that is because I feel like people's attention spans are very short. And what I'm saying? It's the Instagram age. It's the Snapchat age of instant gratification. So let's say, for example, I drop a 10 track album, right? my fear is that people might listen to 2 or 3 songs and then they're like, cool, next artist, right? It could be like 3 amazing, beautiful songs, but they'll be like, cool, next artist. Because like people just, like low attention spans, right? So what I like to do is like put out a song and just promote that song for like a month. And then next month, new song, next month, new song. And then every week I put out a verse, right? Those episodes.
Yeah.
It's just keep that content going. You know what I mean? And albums right now because I'm not that well known yet, to me, I don't think that'll help. But I think singles will get me traction. And then once I have a big fan base, then I think like albums could definitely help me out. I think albums can definitely boost me then. But for now, I'm just kind of focused on singles. Have you had a chance to listen to Belong Here?
Yeah,
man.
I like your stuff. It's nice. I haven't listened to it like on repeat a lot, but I've heard the songs. Yeah.
Cool, man. Thank you. And so I'm actually kind of working on a music video for that song. But yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it would be cool to see you on tour in Europe someday, maybe.
Absolutely. Free pass for you, free ticket.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down so you'll remember.
I'm gonna try to sell you tickets one day. You'll be like, yo, can I get a free ticket? I'm like, oh, then you're gonna be like, dude, you said it on the podcast, man.
I have it here, man. I have it all here.
All right.
Yeah, bro. So yeah, it's interesting. And what advice would you have to anybody listening to this that are trying to walk the same path that you are walking and maybe are a few steps behind right now?
Okay. Yeah, man. Patience. And you know what I'm saying? Like patience is like a huge thing. And just keep, like you are exactly where you're at for a reason. And you're where you need to be right now. Right. And let me give you an example. Like in 2014, I dropped a song called Rise. And at the time, I thought the song was so prolific, so amazing. I thought it was like the best thing in the world. It wasn't. But, you get so excited and like you think like, oh my God, this song's going to get me famous. And it didn't. It got me some fans and stuff. And like it got some traction around my local Conneticut community. But now that I think back at that 5 years ago, and I'm like, let's say I did become famous from that song, I'd be so fucked because 1, that song wasn't that good to begin with. 2, I didn't really have a catalog. So like if people came onto my page, they would find no music. And that would have been they would just have one song, and that would have been very problematic. Right? So when it comes to like giving people advice on like the journey, this is like a tough one because I can write a book on this, right? Because I'm still on the journey. But shit, man, like you're at where you're where you need to be. Don't give up. Just have patience. Work on your craft every single day. You know what I mean? Like, because imagine if you didn't have your 9-to-5 job. Like if you have a 9-to-5 job, eventually you become good at your job because you're doing it every day, whether you love it or hate it. And like, so if you want to cut out your 9-to-5 job and work on music, that's fine, but it can't just be a once every now and then kind of thing. It's like you got to do this every day because this is going to be your craft. This is your livelihood now. This people know you because you want to be a rapper or a singer or whatever it is you want to do. And also don't listen to your parents. They're gonna because here's the thing, they want what's best for you, and they're gonna tell you to stick to the safest path. Music, we are not on a safe path, my friend. Like, you know what I mean? And so just appreciate what they're trying to do because they want what's best for you. But just you gotta get on your own 2 feet, and you just gotta say, hey, like this is what I'm doing. This is the path that I'm on, and this is just what I'm gonna do. Separation from the womb, right? As Elliott would say, separation from the mom. Yeah.
Yeah. Stop being a mama's boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting advice. Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
Um, and I think we're at the end point almost here. How where can people find you, Shaheen, if they want to connect you with you, if they want to listen to your music, if they want to
Sure.
slide in
Yeah.
DMs, you know?
Yeah, man. So I mean, I'm on everywhere. You can, if you want, I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, SoundCloud, whatever it is you want to listen to music. That's however you listen to music with. I'm on there. If you want, you can hit me up on Instagram. Um, I'm sure my boy here could provide
I'll
you with
put
like,
some links in the show notes.
yeah, right. No, I mean it's at Shaheen Samadi, so that's SHAHEEN dot SAMADI. That's my Instagram handle. Feel free to send me a DM, say hi, what's up. Um, and my there will be a link to my music there as well. And if you can't get to my music, again, just DM me, and I'll make sure I find a way you can listen.
Mm,
And yeah,
cool.
awesome.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking your time out for me today, and
Thanks for having me, dude. I
I
really
wish
appreciate it.
you good luck in the studio. I heard you're going to studio later today to do some more stuff. Or is it was where you going?
That is actually
Yeah,
where I'm gonna.
yeah, yeah. Cool.
In about an hour and a half. Yeah, I gotta
Yeah,
head out.
the grind is
But
real.
but that's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Like always work on shit. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You always gotta be creating. So
Yeah.
after this podcast, I'm just gonna put some food in my mouth and just bounce. You know?
Keep on moving. Keep
Yeah.
keeping on. Keep moving and doing your craft.
Thank you, man.
Well, thank you very much, and
All
hope
right.
to see some good stuff coming in the future for you.
You definitely will, man. Take care.